Hello and welcome back to the Halo series. My name is Douglas Brown, CEO at Halo Consulting. Today we are joined by Marcus Sawyerr, CEO and founder at EQ App. Today marks our 31st Halo series. Thanks for joining us today, Marcus. How are you?
Thanks for having me, Douglas. I'm doing fantastic. Really excited for the conversation.
Awesome. Yeah, we're excited to have you as well. If you're new to this event, Halo hosts monthly thought leadership roundtables covering current trends in the HR, tech, and DEI space. If you've enjoyed this content, hit that like and subscribe button, and be sure to visit Halo's LinkedIn page to subscribe to the Halo Content Hub, which summarizes current market trends and recaps past events, and that link can be found in the description. Throughout our session, we will cover the future of business with AI and human collaboration. Before we kick off the questions, let's get started with you, Marcus. Can you share with our audience where you started your career and how it evolved into starting the EQ app?
Yeah, sure. So my career has somewhat of a non-linear process. I started actually many years ago. I was playing football. I had a football scholarship, and I was on the journey to become what I thought was going to be a professional soccer player, as we'd say in the US. And that didn't work out for one reason or another. I had a scholarship, and then I got to a point where I needed a job. So at this time, there was this thing called the newspapers where people would advertise jobs. And there were a lot of companies that were kind of thinking, there must be a better way. And there was this other thing that happened, which was the internet. And I joined a company that was starting in the UK called careerbuilder.com. And I started as one of their first employees in Europe. And I ended up staying there. So it was kind of like my first job after getting a job in a gym. I ended up staying there for 10 years and I got promoted every single year. And then I ran the staff and the recruiting division after taking an entrepreneurial stint to set up my own travel business in between that after I'd done 5 years and then 5 years. And then from there, I became a global president for the Adecco Group, where I was buying, building, and investing in HR tech companies, which meant that we were scanning the market for new innovations all around the world, from London, Northern Europe, Singapore, the US, and we ended up buying a fair amount of businesses and then bringing them into our ecosystem. And then after that, I decided to go back into the entrepreneurial world, or forward into the entrepreneurial world, should I say, to focus on diversity and inclusion around building a members network called EQ Community, which had evolved into an inclusive AI platform where we help companies get access to insights and information to ensure that recruiters are more effective in their jobs. So it's a little bit about my journey and the process.
Yeah, Marcus, thanks for sharing. And you had a fascinating career from your 10 years at Career Builder, your time at Adecco, and now at the helm of the EQ app. And congrats on your 3-year anniversary. That's super exciting.
Yeah, thanks. It's been an interesting ride to say the least, but I wouldn't change it for a minute.
Yeah, likewise. Can you tell me more about the EQ app and the product? Who's the user, the buyer, and your audience in general?
Yeah, sure. So EQ app is more of the holding organization, and we have a few different products inside of EQ. One is called EQ Buddy, and EQ Buddy is an AI companion for anybody that is in the recruiting process on the hiring side. So this could be for individual recruiters or organizations that are hiring inside a TA, or even people just want to do research around it. And it's a platform where you can log in, you can have a conversation, it's a conversational application, and you get feedback around all of the information and insights that you would like in real time. So this could be finding candidates instantly, pretty much. It could also be generating job descriptions or creating resume screening questions, all in an inclusive way. So that's our flagship product. We also have another product which is called EQ Connect. And EQ Connect is about providing learning and insights and know-how on using AI. Because what we found is that a lot of people were really interested in it. A lot of people kind of started, but they get stuck on what prompts to use, what are the use cases that I can use AI for. So we combine the two with EQ Connect and also EQ Buddy to have an EQ membership for recruiters.
And as you continue to embark on your entrepreneurial journey, Marcus, what is the story and mission behind the EQ app, EQ Buddy, and EQ Connect?
Yeah, so the overarching mission is to be able to match every job to every person on the planet. And we can't do that alone. So we work with partners who are either recruiters or in the recruitment industry in order to do that. And the reason behind that is if you think about the problem that we all face, which is the matching problem, on one hand, you see that the unemployment rate currently in the US is at 3.5%. On the other hand, there are a lot of layoffs that are going on. And I think that at some point there should be a way where you can simply match people to opportunities, potentially in real time, with the help of AI and a human. So that's really what we're embarking on. We want to remove as much friction from the process of hiring as possible.
Love it, and love what you've done throughout your career. How do you determine which tasks in business are best suited for automation using AI? And how do you make sure that there's a balance between automated tasks and those that require human judgment, empathy, or strategic thinking?
Yeah, so it's a really broad question. I think it depends on your business for kind of one standpoint, and also what context you have. So I'll give a couple of examples. 5 years ago, I done a talk for LinkedIn around the future of AI in recruitment. And at that time, we were using AI inside of our organization at Deco for the candidate experience. And this was a kind of rise of the first wave of chatbots. So you would have chatbots that would be able to help pickers and packers go through a process. That's very different to executive search. So on the other end of the spectrum, if you think about executive search, where you're finding really only a handful of people that actually have that capability to do that job, what we're focusing on is how you can hone down to find those people in real time, but also do your research ahead of time so you can have a meaningful and fruitful discussion with them as you try to talk or convince them that your job or your opportunity that you're working on is something that they should take interest in. So I think that you have to first, what we started to do is we looked at every process of recruiting. We looked at what was high frequency, high volume, and highly repetitive, and that's what lent well for automation. But then I think where we have an opportunity now is this personalization piece. You want to be high frequency, high volume, and highly personalized. And that's really what we're embarking on now. So you can do two things at the same time. So that's how we've been thinking about, and also how our customers have been thinking about as well.
Yeah, I think the personalization piece is a big aspect in terms of sending LinkedIn emails or reach outs to candidates for a specific role. The more you can tailor it to their background and experience, the more likely that it might pique their interest. And that's something that we're doing in real time as well. We're using a little bit of AI and in terms of the personalization.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that everybody wants to feel like they're special and they're having a conversation with a human at all times. I don't think that will go away, but I think AI can help you to get to that quicker, right? So it comes with a caution. How do you use AI? Because there's also a lot of spam that's going on right now, and we probably all of our inboxes are a little bit more full than we would like.
Yeah, definitely. In what ways can AI tools be effectively utilized to enhance communication and collaboration within the business? And what specific AI-driven features or tools do you see as valuable for improving team interactions?
Yeah, so I think that there are many different use cases, and again, it will depend on the type of business that you are in. If I think about collaboration, one of the things that we're using AI for, it's even simply like you have a meeting and post meeting, what was the outcome? And if you can record that and you can get that into a transcript and then have that in a document that's there and lives for everyone to see, you can then move forward from that and then you're not repeating the same things over again. So I think transcripts are like a really quick win. So on some of the popular platforms that we see today, there's just now AI baked into that. The other thing as well, as far as collaboration, designing. I think designing is like a thing that it's interesting because a lot of people can appreciate great design, but they can't actually do it. So you have the ideas. But now you can collaborate with team members in tools that allow you to see one design in real time and then you can use that design as something that is either a prototype or it's an idea, and you're not just talking generally about ideas, you're showing something. And then as far as collaboration with what we're doing, we're actually sharing a lot of the projects, we call them, inside of EQ Buddy. So if you're working on a project, creating a job description, and you want to make sure that job description is more inclusive, we'll share that across the team, and then the team can have feedback and then start to update that as well. So I think it's the way that you now are able to share artifacts instead of share ideas, which are generally verbal, and actually ensure that you have that documented.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I couldn't agree more with the different apps and AI tools that are out there. There's one in particular that is that's specific to transcripts and highlighting key points throughout a Zoom conversation or video communication. And Jeff Whitlock, he's the CEO at Grain, and his company does exactly that. It's pretty cool. Jeff is one of our panelists for our upcoming roundtable that's scheduled for Friday, February 9th, crafting success and navigating the evolving work environment. So he joined one of our speaker huddles, and his platform did exactly that. So provided a transcript of the overall conversation, and then every few minutes throughout the conversation, it highlighted key points, and it was super helpful to be able to see that after the discussion ended.
Yeah, and going back to something that you mentioned earlier, which was like, where are the areas for AI and how can you leverage it in some of the use cases? I think anything that can save you time is worth exploring, because as we know, time is the only resource that you don't get back. And if you can save that time on something that you also don't want to do, I think there's a huge opportunity there as well.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I was reading an article yesterday posted by Forbes. It was revealing the dark side, the top 6 problems with ChatGPT and generative AI in 2024. And the main points were focused on accuracy, bias, volume, cybersecurity, intellectual property issues, and shadow AI. So this is really a good segue into the next question, Marcus. How do you propose that we set clear boundaries for AI usage, especially in situations that demand human touch, such as like negotiations, mentoring, or providing emotional support?
Yeah, so I think the AI can of worms, so to speak, as far as things that can go wrong are infinite, and they've got 6. There could probably be 6,000, and it probably goes back to like any technology, right? I remember when I was reading a book a while back, and that actually was a problem for people reading a book, because a book was a technology and it was a tool, and people are like, oh, all these books, what's going to happen? You could take a knife, right? A knife can be used for many different things. It can be used in the kitchen, but it can also use it to harm people. So I think that there's going to have to be some guidelines around AI overall, and just kind of how we can inspect the use of AI. I think as far as a human connection, where does the human connection come in? That's really going to be down to the consumer, I think. So whether that's the candidate or it's the client, and we kind of forget that AI is in all of the products that we're using, whether it's Netflix or it's Amazon or it's Uber. All of the products that we're using every single day, those matching algorithms are AI. So I think having an awareness of what you're using and what's AI and what's not is going to be super important. And there'll be sometimes when, look, you don't really want to speak to someone because you don't need to. And there'll be sometimes where you really deeply want to speak to someone. And we'll go back to that executive search piece as well. If you're making a decision on a job which is 500K plus, the area that you're in, you kind of want to talk to someone to figure out, like, is this the right move? Because maybe you're moving family, or maybe you're taking a bigger risk than you would like to otherwise. So there's going to be some hand holding for those huge decisions, where I think a human can start to give you that nuance as well. So I think any decisions that are made where there's nuance and it's not transactional, you're going to still need the humans. Humans will evolve to be able to use AI to come around to more of those discussions and more of those conversations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely agree. And from your perspective, Marcus, what strategies if any, would you implement to encourage your team to follow guidelines that might be based from a company perspective or even from a higher perspective?
Yeah, so we were actually talking about this last couple of weeks, and the reason is as we build an AI product, which is we consider as inclusive AI, it has a multiplier effect. And the multiplier effect acts in a few different ways. It's a user seeing something, whether you're creating a job description, that's one part. Once a job description leaves, and let's say we're partnering with a Fortune 500 company and they post that on their website, that is multiplied again and there's more and more buyers. So the first thing is that we programmed our models to be non-gendered and inclusive. That's the first thing. But the other thing, and again, we were having a conversation last week, I had it again yesterday. Every time we're releasing and we're developing, we're trying to think about how we're making sure that the models are as inclusive as possible. And the thing with bias is a tricky subject. And the reason bias is tricky is because everything and everybody has bias. The question is how far is the barometer of bias and what is it biased toward? And I think having that level of awareness on what you're doing is the first thing. And then moving forward, as I mentioned, there are probably going to be some guidelines. And I think with AI, it's almost going to be like ingredients on any tin or any product that you're buying from the supermarket. You're going to want to know what's in there. And we're prepared and ready to do that when that happens. But I think prior to that, you're going to have to act as an actor that supports the society, supports the population, and really isn't trying to put people in a predicament where there's more bias perpetuating. I think that's one of the biggest risks right now of AI, and we've got to be mindful of it, have conversations, and actually act on it as well.
Yeah, you make a good point, and the Forbes article highlighted that addressing bias concerns by closely involving engineering teams and aligning AI with corporate and human values is super critical. So sounds like you and your team are taking the right approach.
Yeah, we're trying, and look, we don't know it all, and we're also open to having conversations with anybody that is also thinking about this. And we're spending a lot of time speaking to AI ethics teams, researchers, and people that are actually working in this field and trying to get an understanding of how can we build AI that is actually going to be beneficial for human beings, right?
Let's move on to our next question, Marcus. How do you approach the continuous upskilling and reskilling of your workforce to adapt to the evolving technological landscape, including AI advancements?
Yeah, so it has to be in our DNA and what we do by default. So every single day, we're using some kind of technology. We're trying to understand what technologies are out there, but we're welcoming that discussion. So whether it's on our forums online, when I was working at Decon, we were scanning the market for companies. We would do a few things. This is a bigger organization because our organization is a small company. But when you're 30,000 employees, it's a completely different world on how you look for innovation, how you stay ahead. And we used to do a couple of things. One was we would encourage innovation at a local level and then have a way and a forum for people to discuss that. So, and then another way we do that is we had another competition we did a curriculum, ideas from everywhere. We'd encourage people to try and solve a problem and say, what is it that you want to solve inside of our business or externally for our customers? Come up with these ideas, and then we would have a contest. And we do that on an annual basis, and everybody would look forward to it. It's called Ideas from Everywhere. So I think crowdsourcing is a really big part of it, and having an open way, whether your company's small, medium, or large, and encouraging people to try and test new tools without putting the organization at risk, obviously, and giving away data and insights and information that you don't want to, and just providing that framework on how you test and experiment inside your company.
Yeah, I like that. Ideas from everywhere to try and test new tools. I think I'm going to adopt that.
Yeah.
Marcus, can you discuss any challenges or lessons learned in finding the right balance between AI-driven decision-making and human intuition across and within your leadership team?
Yeah, so I think with the AI decision making, I'm not sure AI is ready to make decisions in the world that we're in as far as in recruit. I think that AI can provide some ideas and guidance. And the biggest thing that I say to people, if you're embarking on AI, you want to, it's the old adage of inspect what you expect. And in order to be able to do that, you need to have a domain experience. So our domain experience is recruiting. But if you're a lawyer, for instance, and you want to use AI in that way, you can actually kind of sniff out what's real and what's fake. And I think that you need an expert in the room in order to continue to do that. So that's one thing that we're really, really encouraging, is that you have a clear understanding of that domain. If you've never done an agreement before, never done a term sheet, or never seen a term sheet before, if you try and get a platform in order to produce that, you're not going to know what good looks like. So I think always having an expert around, I think there's probably going to be more consulting services off the back of that, where people are just going to do a quick check on the AI output, so they don't have to spend hours actually drafting agreements or looking at very specific, whether it's terms or services in a particular industry, but having an expert there that you can fall back on to ask those questions.
Yeah, that might be the next billion-dollar business idea, having a service to inspect what AI is kind of delivering and putting out there.
Absolutely.
Looking ahead, what do you see as the future role of AI in the recruitment industry, and how do you plan to stay at the forefront of technological advancements while maintaining a human-centered approach?
Yeah, so we're really betting on the fact that AI is going to remove all the administration work from the recruiting process. So I see a world of zero admin. And they say if you want to be part of the future, you want to know what it looks like, you have to build it. So that's really what we're building towards, removing all the administration. So individuals, and I see a world where you can speak to candidates and clients that are a great match in real time, immediately, versus having to go through a whole long process of sourcing, searching, finding, and then going through a longer process, both on the stakeholder side as well. Because the other challenge is not just finding the talent, but it's internally the interview processes that people have to go through, all the stakeholders that have to make this agreement. And I think that that's going to be more transparent and more shared. And you see that across other businesses, as we talked about collaboration. And I think having one view where you can collaborate and AI can keep you on track throughout the whole process is going to be something that's going to be super useful.
Yeah, if you come across removing the admin piece in the recruitment space, I'll definitely be calling you, because just the sheer amount of time that's spent on doing administrative tasks is it's annoying and frustrating. So yeah, you'll be the first call.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Marcus, as we wrap up here, two last questions. Who should reach out to you and why? And what's the best way to connect with you or get in touch with our viewers?
So anybody that is thinking about hiring in the recruiting space, or wants to figure out a way to get access to information that could lead to hires, like, reach out to me. So typically recruiters or people that are in TA, way to reach out is to go to eq.app, or you can find me on LinkedIn, exactly as my name is in the lower thirds, with 2 R's, and I'll be happy to have a conversation.
Awesome. Marcus, thank you so much for joining us today on the 31st episode of the Halo series. Big fan of the community and the EQ app, and I'll be continuing to cheer you on.
Sounds good, Douglas. Thanks for providing a platform, and really appreciate the time.